أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على ما لا نبي بعده سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اهتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين. Amma ba'd. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome to the House of Dua. Welcome to this special reminder. A reminder to us as parents as we battle to protect ourselves and our children against the ongoing attack from coronavirus. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, you will recall that earlier in the year, as a result of the devastating effect of the coronavirus, our children who were in school were asked to stay at home. From that time till now, they are still at home, unable to go back to school. And for now, there is a debate that is going on that the children should be allowed to go back to school. This is a moment that calls for the contribution of all of us, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. And this is why I've decided to come to you today with this reminder. There are those who want us to allow our children to return back to school, whether it's safe enough to do so or not. Those in this category are the political leaders who, for obvious reasons, want to achieve some political gains. On the other hand, however, there are those who are the professionals, the scientists, the medical professionals who are sounding a note of warning, a note of caution, that yes, as much as it is desirable to allow the children to go back to school, we need to exercise maximum restraint to be sure that it's safe enough for them to go back to school. There is a third group who believe that the government has no role to dictate to them what to do. They believe that as a result of freedom and liberty, which they are entitled to by the constitution of the land, nobody should tell them what to do. Even if they are told to go out and take some precautions, as recommended by the scientists, to wear at least a mask or to maintain social distance and to make sure they wash and clean their hands, especially when they're in public places, and to sanitize their hands. This category of people do not want to do so because they believe that they can do whatever they like. And dear brothers and sisters in Islam, among those who are saying that children should be allowed to go to school right away without adequate precaution are those who are saying that even if the children were attacked by the coronavirus, they have sufficient antibody to defend themselves. They are not likely to die. Again, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we need to remind ourselves that since the outbreak of this disease, a lot of people have died. Some are still struggling in the hospital to recover. Even among those who have recovered, there are still some side effects they are dealing with. The disease is a type that does not know who is an adult or who is a child. There are children who have passed away as well. So the argument that the children will not suffer unduly, even if they are allowed to go to school, is neither here nor there. But my question today, my dear brothers and sisters, as this debate is going on, where do you stand as a parent? What is your role? Are you just standing aloof? Are you leaving things to chance? Are you saying that the authorities are in the best position to make decisions for your child or your children? I beg to differ. I want to submit to you that you are in a better position to decide for your children's well-being than the school authority, than the government. Remember that your children are the greatest possessions you have. They are your treasures. They are your future. Your children are, in fact, your best asset. To leave them to chance, therefore, will be an abdication of your own responsibility. That's why I'm calling on you today to get yourself involved in these discussions and to make sure that you take the right decisions. The first responsibility of a parent is the safety and care of the children. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a story in Surah An-Naml, which is chapter 27 of the Holy Quran, the story of the ant. And wants us to learn a lesson from there as parents of the need for us to be proactive for the safety and well-being of our children. In that surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declared, Bada'uzu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wa hushira li Sulaymana junudun minal jinni wal insi wat tayri fahum yuzun. Ata iza atau ala wadi namli kolati namletun ya ayyuha namlu udkhulu masakinakum la yahtimannakum Sulaymanu wa junuduhu wa hum la yash'urun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminded us of the story of Sulaiman alayhi salam. One day he was traveling with his forces made up of the jinn, men, and birds, and some lower elements of the creation. And Sulaiman and his troops, most of them were riding on horses. At the same time, the ants have just come out of their habitation to take fresh air outside. But when the mother of the ants recognized the fact that Sulaiman and his troops were coming, marching along in horses, the mother of the ants called on the ants, go into your habitation, so that Sulaiman and his forces will not trample on you unknowingly, for that matter. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, that was a proactive decision made by the mother of the ants, conscious of the safety of her children. We are expected to learn a lesson from this. If an ant could be so concerned about the well-being of our children, what about ourselves as human beings? My dear brothers and sisters, in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, we are reminded that the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam stated, Kuluku ra'in wa kuluku mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi. Each of you is a shepherd watching over your flocks, and you will be asked how you watch over your flocks. Your flocks, in this case, are your children, for example. We, as parents, are considered as shepherds watching over the affairs of our children. Therefore, to abdicate that responsibility to the school or to the government will be a failure on our part. Remember, if something happens to your child, you will feel the pain. You will feel the loss. But the government or the school institution, at best, will just regard your child as one of those statistics. That is the more reason why you, as parents, must stand up for your children as this debate is going on. To reach out to those who are in authority in your area to express your view. And to take an extra step in actually visiting the school attended by your children to be sure that there is adequate provision for safety. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we are going through a period like no other one we have ever gone through in the past. And I have come to you time and time again, reminding you and reminding myself that yes, while we have a duty to respond to the advice of those who have authority over us, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Atiullah wa atiu Rasulullah wa ulul amri minkum. We have a responsibility to listen to those who are in authority over us. But if those responsibilities are in violation of the command of Allah and the example of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, we have to beg to differ and go by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects from us. We must be able to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong for our children. Therefore, in the discussions that are going on, we need to exercise abundant caution. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, as I stated, there are those, on the other hand, who are members of the public like you and I, who believe that because of what freedom means to them, they are free to do whatever their self-desires propels them to do. They don't want to take instruction from anybody. You can see them walking about without masks all over the place. You can find them in the beaches, in the football fields, or any other public places like the movie centers, unless they are actually compelled to avoid such places. They are likely to parade themselves without precaution. There are still very many people who do not believe in the reality of this disease. Such people will not believe until it touches them, until they see the punishment. Those are not the ones we should emulate. In Surah Al-An'am, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِنَّ كَثِيرًا لَا يُضِلُّونَ بِأَهْوَائِهِمْ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ إِنَّ رَبَّكَ أَعْلَمُ بِالْمُعْتَدِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, among mankind there are those who want to misguide others using their own self-desires. They want to mislead others to doing what is wrong, what is harmful. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows those who are transgressors. He knows the intention of such people. In Surah Al-Qasas, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again declares, وَمَنْ أَضَلُّ مِمَّنِ اتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ بِغَيْرِ هُدًى مِنَ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. Who is more misguided than the one who is always propelled into action by his self-desire, by his lust, without any guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without listening to true guidance? Surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not guide those who are wrongdoers. And in Surah Al-Ma'idah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned us seriously as believers. وَلَا تَتَّبِعْ أَهْوَاءَهُمْ عَمَّا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ لِكُلٍّ جَعَلْنَا مِنكُمْ شِرْعَةً وَمِنْهَاجًا وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَجَعَلَكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً ولكن ليبلوكم فيما آتاكم فاستبقوا الخيرات إلى الله مرجعكم جميعا فينبئكم بما كنتم فيه تختلفون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned us by this verse, reminding us, وَلَا تَتَّبِعْ أَهْوَاءَهُمْ. Those who want to follow their self-desires, do not follow their example, do not copy them. After the true knowledge has come to you, Ya Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. In the situation we are dealing with, my dear brothers and sisters, there are true knowledge. Do not get carried away by those who want to follow their self-desires, or who want to attain or achieve some cheap political gains at the expense of the well-being of your children. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لِكُلٍّ جَعَلْنَا مِنكُمْ شِرْعَةً وَمِنْهَاجًا. Each and every one of you, as a generation or as a country or as a community, we have given you your ways of life, your laws to follow. In the present situation we are dealing with, not everybody is the same. Not every state or community or nation is the same. You got to operate within the rules, within what is prevailing. You got to operate within your local circumstances in deciding whether or not it is safe for your children to go to school. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَجَعَلَ لَكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً. If it were the wish of Allah, He would have made all of you the same. But He has made you into different, situations so that you can find it as a test. It's a test upon you over what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted to you. But remember, all of you are coming back to Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold you to account. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, they say to be forewarned is to be forearmed. That's why I'm coming to you today, not to allow people play games with the well-being of your children. Be conscious of the fact that your children are your assets. And therefore, you have to go all out to make sure that they are protected. In the hadith narrated by Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiallahu anhu, the Prophet reminded us of what it means to be in a situation where, you are given some heads up over an issue, what your response should be in a situation like we are passing through right now. He likened it to his own mission. The Prophet says, the mission for which I am sent is like that of a warner. A warner that comes to a community or a group of people and warn them and say, an enemy is about to attack you. Therefore, take a heed. Take precaution. Among the people in the community were those who actually took precaution and they were saved. But there are others who defied that warning, remain where they are, hoping or thinking that it will not happen. But the enemy came, attacked them, and they were destroyed. The entire message of Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam is like that. The situation we are in today, we can learn a lesson from the message of the Prophet. We can remind ourselves that what we are going through now is a serious warning to all of us. People are being told to do what is right in order for all of us to at least be in a better shape. But others are saying, no, we want to do what we like. We want to endanger ourselves and endanger others. And, the worst of it all, they want to endanger our children, our future, our hopes, our assets. It's up to you whether you want to allow that to happen to your children. Therefore, be careful. Be proactive enough like the aunt did to her children. Be proactive enough in making sure that the school your child attends is safe enough for your children to return to in the face of this devastating coronavirus disease before you allow your children to go to school. After all, what do you lose? If for the safety of your children, you keep them at home for now and teach them at home. For the past 6 or 7 months they have been at home. It's not going to make any difference. So I encourage you, therefore, to err on the side of caution. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we as Muslims have example to show to others. We are those who are guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The responsibility of children is taken very seriously in Islam. The Prophet says we will be held to account for them, if we don't lead them properly to the right way. Therefore, I encourage you to be dutiful towards your children in the face of the circumstances that we are facing today. This is a challenge like no other challenge. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect our children. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us in the raising of our children, to guide us so that we'll be in a better position to guide our children to do what is right. In the face of the devastating coronavirus that is plaguing the entire world, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant safety to our children. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take shaitan away from them. I know that they are, emotionally affected and that they are missing their counterparts in school. But again, we need to remind them that their safety is more paramount than every other thing. Therefore, I call on you to stay close to your children and fill the void that they are currently going through, that is, the absence of their school, the absence of their peers at school. It's a challenge to them. We need to fill that void. We need to remind them that hope is not lost, and that in due course, if it pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I've stated in the past, this coronavirus will disappear by the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a short time. Or alternatively, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring men and women that will be able to develop the vaccine by which we shall defeat the coronavirus. But in the meantime, I urge you to stay close to your children and make sure that you observe the responsibilities we owe to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning, not only should they be at home waiting to go back to school, we should take the advantage of their stay at home to teach them how to pray, how to read the Quran, how to be of good conduct, all that we are commanded as believers to observe. Again, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward our children abundantly. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت الغفور الكريم. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. الحمد لله.